today's lesson, we'll learn how to write IELTS Writing Task 1 line graph. Before starting line graph, as you know, in IELTS Writing Task 1, you have 20 minutes and you have to write 150 words. And our basic structure is introduction, after introduction summary, or it's also called overview, and body paragraph. In introduction, the main thing that we have to do is give topic. Give the topic, paraphrase the topic, and in this part we have to give three main information in addition to the topic. We have to include the time, we have to include the place, and we have to include the measurement. Now let's write together our introduction for the given topic. Before starting writing, the things that you have to know is there are some templates, some structures, ready-made structures that you can use to save time, to improve your grammar and vocabulary structure. And we use one of them now in our essay. And here, the structures that we use will be a bit hard for you at the beginning. And that's why the things that you have to do is you just have to memorize the structure, and in the next lesson, you will understand thoroughly why we get a higher score if you use a structure, and how to use the structure in a proper way with understanding. And the structure itself is so as you see, the structure is given is a line graph which presents data concerning, and here we have to dissect the structure one by one, part by part. So what is this given is structure? As you see, it is passive voice is given, and here what happened was inversion. It's inversion, and if you use inversion you're going to get higher score, and here it's better than active voice, so it's passive voice is going to give you higher band score. And in this part you have the line graph which presents, and which here, as you see, relative clause. And relative clause, they appreciate that you use relative clause and they give you higher grammar score. And as you see here, data concerning. So you can just simply say graph which presents and just give the idea or give what happened there or what is it about, or you can just extend your introduction, get more words by using the structure data concerning. It means simply information about. And now we have to look at our task and we have to see what can we write in order to continue this part. And as you see in this part, we have the university lecture describing the information in the graph below, and this information is about the topic. The chart below shows the rates of smoking in Sunland between 1960 and 2000. So it's about rates of smoking. If you look at the line graph, it has per 1,000 people at the top, and you have the numbers of people on y-axis from 100 to 700, and in your x-axis you have years from 1960 to 2000. So it is the amount of people who smoked. So instead of saying the rates of smoking in Sunland, we can say the amount of or the number of people who smoked in this place. We say the number of individuals who smoked. And as you see, we have two lines, one for men, one for women, and we can give this additional information in our introduction to get more score, to add more details, and to give more words and to have more words. As you know, writing 150 words is not that hard, is easy, so that's why you have to just get more, as much information as possible and as many words as possible. And here we say the number of individuals who smoked among males and females, among males and females, and the name of the place in Sunland. And now we have to give time from 1960 to 2000. You could simply add, if you want more words, you can before from to, you can simply add in a period from 1960 to 2000. And as you see, we gave here time, place, and we have to also give, as we said at the beginning of the lesson, measurement. So measurement is here, what are they talking about when they are giving numbers. For example, in line graphs, when we say 20, it can be $20, it can be 20 kilos, it can be 20 tons, it can be 20 meters. So we don't know. And when we don't know, we have to give in our body paragraph. You will see in this later parts, you have to give this measurement. You have to give this index again and again. For example, if it was 20%, 20%, 30%, 35%. So in order to avoid this repetition, we have to give the measurement itself here. The measurement, yes, we have to say measures. It's our second sentence in our introduction. Measures are given. Yeah. So here, this is template. So as you saw, the explanations in this video, explanations are given in red color, and templates, the thing that you have to copy, is given in black color, and the rest will be in blue color. Measures are given in, and as you see, it is per 1,000 people. So in this case, we don't need preposition in, we just use per 1,000 people. So we say measures are given per 1,000 people. And it means whenever we are giving numbers, whenever we're giving amount, whatever number we say, for example, it's 100, it may be 300 or 700, it means 700 people per 1,000 people. And as you see, this was the end of our introduction structure. And introduction consists of 2 sentences. Introduction paraphrases the topic, mainly gives information about the topic in addition to the time, place, and measurement. And as you see, the last sentence was measures are given per 1,000 people, or in other cases, it can be measures are given in millions of tons, measures are given in millions of people, measures are given in maybe dollars if it's the amount of money that we're talking about. And now, after introduction, our second part of the essay is summary or overview. Well, we can give body paragraph after introduction and give summary at the end, but it's strategically better choice to give summary or overview before body paragraph. And the reason for this maybe is probably, well, imagine when you're writing an essay and when you read your own essay, or when you read the essay of a stranger after introduction, if you get inflow of information in body paragraph, you may get a bit confused. So it's better idea to give summary, meaning that general idea of that line itself, or general idea of the task itself, before giving detailed information about it. And in this part, for summary, and here we write 2 sentences. So for summary, we need 2 things. Summary, we'll have 2 sentences, and these sentences are, first, general information. So general info. General information will give you a general trend, general picture of what happened. So if it's line graph, it will be, well, trend, mostly trend. Is it increasing or declining? So we just have to mostly talk about increases and declines here. And so as you saw in our introduction part, we had some templates to use at the beginning to get higher score from vocabulary and grammar. And also in summary part 2, we have some templates that we can use to improve our level of vocabulary and grammar range and accuracy. And here I have to state that there are dozens of templates, more than like 20 templates for each part, but what you have to do is you have to pay attention to this part. You just have to learn one template only, because when you're learning templates, you may learn more than 10 templates, but when you learn more than 10 templates, sometimes after some time, it gets hard to use them, because you just start second guessing, which one should I use? Which one is better for the situation? Should I use this one or should I use that one? And it's going to cost you time, because writing is mostly about time saving, time management. And in writing, students have problems not with task itself or not with the content of the task, but with time, because most students will not be able to finish the task on time. So that's why you have to pay as much attention as possible from the beginning of your IELTS preparation to time management and saving your time. And here what we have to do is to save time, and the only way, or one of the most effective ways to save time, is learning templates for now. I mean, if you want like 6+, it's the best idea is to like learn templates. If you want 7+, then you can just think about using different structure for each situation, because then to get 7+, like you have to change something and you have to do something exceptional. But for 6 or 6+ in writing, you just need good template with good grammar structure and vocabulary, good words, and your own decent knowledge of the task itself. So now at the beginning we aim for 6+, and I will give you some templates that will come in handy, that will be really helpful for you to get your 6+ at the beginning. But later, then in the following stages of our course, we will further improve it step by step. And now what we have to do is I'll give you one template, and the reason why I'm giving you one template is because you don't need you avoid confusion, because you will not think which one to use and you don't waste your time. And second one is it becomes automatic, because when you use something again and again and again, it becomes automatic. It means like you don't have to think about it in order to use it. So it's the best strategy to achieve the best efficiency, the most efficiency in our task one. And the reason why you need one template only is because they only get one of your essays, right? Because you write one essay in your exam, and even if you know 10+ templates, it means like you cannot show them, like you just show only one of them. And it's logically a better idea to just learn the best template, one of the best templates, and just use it again and again. And I'm just going to use a red marker to give the template itself, so that it will be well, it will stand out here. And the structure is in summary. After all, you have to always comment what stands out. Yes, that. And as you see, after that, we don't have comma. You have to pay attention, because most students make mistake here. And what stands out here, what stands out is singular. That's why we have to say stands out. It's not stand out. And here the meaning of the structure is, in summary, stands out means to be different from something else, not to be the same with others. So in summary, we have to give some kind of exceptional points. And here we use this structure to show our general trend. What stands out is that it means what is different from all the information, or from general information is that. I'll just underline the structure so that you understand better, so that you will learn it after the video. What stands out is that, and then you look at the trend and see what happened. And as you saw, in our trend, in the trend that we're describing now, the rate of men smoking decreased and the rate of women smoking increased. So here what you have to look is, you just have to look at the beginning of the structure and beginning of the period and at end of the period. Middle doesn't matter. If you have the structure in which, or trend in which you just have a big skyrocketing to the highest point, peak in the middle, and decline till the end. But if you have overall, if you look at the beginning and look at the end of the period, it's increased, we say that it increases. So in this situation, in women, among women, the rate increased even if the peak was in the middle of the period. So what do we say here? So we say the rates. So as you see, I'm using blue marker to give general information, or ordinary information. I'm using black and red to give exceptional parts that you have to memorize, or that you have to copy to your essays. The rates of smoking among. So we use the word males there, so that's why we say men, among men. So experience it. Steady decline. And here what you have to pay attention to is, when you're saying trends, when you're giving trends, when you're saying increase or decrease, you just have to try to clarify it with details, with adjectives. What kind of decline was it? Was it dramatic decline? What is sharp decline? What is moderate decline? What is steady decline? Was it static decline? So we're gonna give you a PDF file of all the vocabularies that you have to learn, and we're gonna leave it here. And you have to learn all the vocabulary that was given here, and you just have to incorporate it in your essay. You just have to use all this vocabulary in your essay in the next lessons, so that you can improve your vocabulary part and lexicon resource part too. And as you see, structures are not the only things that can improve your task one. So you have to pay attention to vocabulary too. Vocabulary is really important here. As you see, the rates of smoking among men experienced a steady decline. And this is a structure. You can learn this parts for yourself because it can be used in other essays too. The rates, the levels, the degrees. So we can use it when you're talking about percentages or when you're talking about anything. So smoking among men experienced a steady decline. Here is the structure too. So I could simply say, among the rates of smoking among men decrease it or decline it or fell. But I prefer to use experience a steady decline. So why it's better structure? Because I'm using the word, well, different word, experience, and I'm using adjective, a steady and a decline noun. And here we have to talk about women too, but how do we talk about women? How do we connect these two sentences? Now here we have to use conjunctions, and we can use conjunctions like while, whilst, and whereas. They are mostly used to give two situations, two trends that are different from each other. So that's why you have to learn these words. You have to learn the definition of these words in your own language, and you have to use these words to connect two sentences when you are talking about or when you're writing task one essay. So while, whilst, whereas. So instead of the rates, we say the levels for women. The levels. Levels. So we don't have to say smoking because it's obvious now. The levels. Moderate. Rise. Among. So we say men and we say women. So that was the first sentence of our summary, general information. In the next part of the video, we talk about the second sentence of the summary, which is analysis. Let's continue our lesson. Now, in the second part of this summary, we have to write our analysis. And I have to mention that this is optional part of the summary. So I'll write analysis. As I mentioned, it is optional part. Optional, as you know, meaning if you want, it's not compulsory, it's not obligatory. If you want, you will write it. But if you don't want, you don't have to include it in your essay. And as you see, we had starting structure for our general information for our first sentence. And here we have starting structure for our analysis too. And the thing that we have to give in our analysis is something exceptional in the line graph or something exceptional in the chart. That's something that is different from the main information, something that can be found by looking at this and analyzing the graph. When examiners are checking your essay, they don't only want the description of the line or description of the graph. They also want analysis, some sort of creative work from your side, so that they can see that you put in an effort in this work, and so that they will give you higher task achievement score. So if you give analysis, you're going to get higher task achievement score. And here, most students will have problems with analysis. So I'm going to give you band 6+ structure for analysis. And in the further sections of our course, I'm going to explain you how to write better analysis so that you will get higher score from your task achievement. And as we move on to analysis, I'm going to give you the structure for analysis. I'm just going to give you templates that you can use to start our analysis in every single part of every single task one essay. And the structure is another feature, which is words mentioning may be, and there's continuation. And as you see here, we set another feature, which is words mentioning may be, and you have to memorize the structure so that you're going to get higher score from your grammar and vocabulary part. Because Here we said another feature, meaning another characteristic, another quality, or another point, which is worth mentioning. And here we used relative clause, which is well, by using this you're going to get higher. You're just going to guarantee that you're going to get higher grammar range and accuracy score. Worth mentioning, and here you see the word worth, meaning that it's important, and mentioning to include maybe, and I use here tentative language. This part is called tentative language. Maybe I could just simply say, which is worth mentioning, yes. But if you use tentative language in academic writing, you're going to get higher score from task team. I'm just going to write the name of this thing. It is called tentative language, and we're going to include a detailed explanation of tentative language in writing task 2 also, so that you can have better understanding of what is this tentative language and how you can use it to get higher score from your task achievement. It's very important structure. And after this, which is worth mentioning maybe, and then I'll give you another template that you can use to get 6+. It can be, well, for line graphs and for other parts of the task 1, it's the same, but it is different in mostly only process and map. So the structure is the highest figure accounted for. And in this part, you can logically think that if you give some kind of, let's say, highest part or lowest part of the information, or the highest number or the lowest number in the line graph, it is going to be a bit, at least slightly bit different than the main information. So by just giving the highest figure, we're just giving a little bit of analysis from our side. And here we're using superlative, so you're going to get a bit higher score. So the structure is, as you see, you have to copy the structure to your notebook, and you just have to use it always. The highest figure accounted for. Account for means was responsible, or was, well, it means it belonged to. So it belongs to something or some line. So in this case, in our case, it is men, right? It's accounts for male. So we write the highest figure accounted for males at the beginning of the period. And here we have to pay attention to two things. The first thing is we said accounted for, meaning it was about the past. And here your structure may be present simple or future simple. And in this case, you have to pay attention to the use of tenses here. So our situation was past simple. That's why past situation. So that's why I use highest figure accounted for. And here you can use whatever it is given. So it was males in my case. So in your case, it can be some kind of country's name, or it can be some kind of group, or some kind of age group. So it is different for every single situation. And by this part, we're talking about the highest point of the line. For example, if you're talking about the amount of money spent, so if you're talking about money and spent on different things, for example, the highest figure accounted for education, for example, if the highest number in the line graph was for education. And here, as you saw, we talked about time. We can give time, but you have to pay attention. In summary, you cannot give any numbers. You cannot include any numbers because numbers are details, and you cannot give details in our summary. So we just have to avoid using numbers at all costs in our summary part. And here, I'll just clarify it. Here, the male was category. You will see this concept in our continuation of essays, or in continuation of essay, and in the next videos too. Here we are categorizing our information, and categories are basically different lines, and we give them in different categories. And we gave category here, males was category, and here time period. You have to avoid using years here or numbers. You just can just say, if you want to clarify the time period that happened, you can say at the beginning of the period, in the middle of the period, and at the end of the period. Well, we finished the first two parts of our essay. We've worked on introduction and summary, And as you see, logically, the next thing that we have to do after summary is giving body paragraph. And in body paragraph, when we're giving body paragraph, we write the number of body paragraph depends on the number of lines we have. Well, there are two ways of giving body paragraph. We can give body paragraphs or lines in a mixed way. We can compare them, we can give them in an interconnected way, but it's really risky. For example, if you have 3 lines and talking about 3 lines in one body paragraph at once is really daunting, risky task to do, because to accomplish, because when you're giving details, you're going to get confused. It's going to be really hard for you. And even if you accomplish them in the right way, it's going to be really hard to understand for the person who is reading it. So it's going to be very, very time consuming. It's going to take a lot of your time. It's going to be really hard for you yourself in terms of energy expenditure and time expenditure. And it's going to be really hard to understand after it's finished. That's why we're not going to risk, and we're going to use the easiest way of giving body paragraph, which guarantees us 6+ from writing task 1. And here, what we have to do is we have to do 3 things basically. And I'll write body part. And in body part, we have to give 3 things. We have to do 3 things, and they are: first, categorization. Categorization basically means giving information in different categories, giving lines in different body paragraphs. For example, if you have, in our case, we have 2 lines, and it's about, one is about males, second one is about females. So we're gonna have 2 body paragraphs in our essay. But in your case, it can be 4, it can be 3, it can be 1. So depending on the situation, you will have this amount of body paragraphs. In our case, it's 2 body paragraphs. This is categorization. Categorization meaning giving paragraphs, giving lines in separately, not interconnecting them together, not giving them in one body paragraph. We just divide them into 2 different parts. After this, we have grouping. Grouping is a simple concept. Grouping means giving information that is close to each other in one body paragraph. For example, imagine in this case of men, you have different years, different decades, even 10 years, but the trend is basically the same. It's just steadily declining. So we don't have to give them separately. We don't have to say, well, it increases from 1960 to 1970. It again decreases from 1970 to 1980. It again decreases from 1980 to 1990. So we don't have to do this. We don't need this. So that's why we can just give it experienced a dramatic, or it experienced a moderate decline from 1960 to 2000. It's called grouping. So grouping is quite easy for our line graph, but for a bar chart, for tables, for static graphs, it's going to be a bit hard to find to group information, but we will explain it in the further lessons of our course. And after grouping, you have to compare information. Comparing, as we said before, giving information, describing information is not enough. You have to, in addition to that, you have to compare information to get higher score from your task 1. And when we are starting, we have to start with categorization, the biggest part. So when we are categorizing, we have, as you saw, we had in introduction, in the summary, we had some beginning structures, and in our body paragraph also we have beginning structures that we use, that you have to memorize, and we use a red marker to state them, and they are with respect to regarding, concerning, as regards, and with regards to, with regards to. And they basically mean the same thing. They mean if we talk about this thing, meaning that it's just more academic way of starting your sentence. You have to starting your body paragraph. You always have to start your body paragraph with these words, and these are separately used. So you can use one of them only at the beginning of your body paragraph. And here, maybe imagine we used with respect to, and here we have to talk about line graphs, and we have to talk about graphs. And the first graph that we had was males, right? So we talk about males, but we cannot say males. We have to talk about what was that there was in connection with males. So it was smoking. We say with respect to smoking, the patterns, smoking patterns among males. After this, you have to put comma, and it means that we are talking about only smoking patterns among males. So we're going to talk about only males. We're going to give only information about men. And here you cannot give any information, you cannot include any information about females or women. So smoking patterns among men, among males, then you just have to start the beginning. You just have to give the beginning of it. And as you see, it's at the beginning, let me just have a look at it so that I will be sure about it. So it was at exactly 600. So we have to give this number here now. So the figure, we can say the figures constituted 600 in 1960. So we just gave the first sentence, which was the beginning. So as you see, at the end, you have to state the period. Before that, you have to state the number itself, because it's our body paragraph. In our body paragraph, we have to give more details, as much detail as possible, to get the higher task achievement score. And the figures constituted means figures were at. So it was this number. So as you see, we had written 600 in 1960. Why we are writing 600? Why we are not writing 600 people or 600 individuals? Because as you saw in introduction, we gave 6 measures are given per 1,000 people. So as you see, now you can see the benefit of giving measurement at the beginning, because if you didn't give measures at the beginning, in introduction, you would have to write this 600 or numbers like always, people, and it would be a lot of repetition. So 600 people, 700 people, 200 people. So to avoid this repetition, we just gave measures are given per 1,000 people, and we just don't have to give anything else. If we give numbers, they automatically understand that we're talking about this number per 1,000 people. If we say 15, it means 15 people per 1,000 people. And now what we have to do is, we gave the first sentence. What we have to basically do now? In the next part, we have to give the trend. We have to give the next year. We have to give the next event that happened. So there was a steady decline. As you saw here, the trend is declining steadily without any pauses, without any any interruptions, to around 250 in 2000. In the year 2000. So we have to give the year just trend as one trend. But how do we connect the sentence? We have to use connectors to connect our linkers, to connect our sentence, because if we don't use linkers, our cohesion score is going to be not that high. We didn't talk about cohesion, but in the next lessons we will give a detailed explanation of task achievement, cohesion, grammar range and accuracy, and lexical resources. And now we have to connect these sentences. To connect this sentence, as I said, we have to use linkers. These linkers are after that, or following that. Next, then we can use these connectors. They mean basically the same thing. They just give the next stage of events. So after, we can just use the structure there is, there are. We can say there was a steady or stable decline to, as we said, 250, as we saw in the line, until, so we don't have to say 2000, we can say until the end of the period, the end of the period. We can stop here, but if we stop here, it will be really information poor, because we just give basically 600 and 250 and 1960 and the end of the period. It's not enough detail to get high task achievement score. So we have to add some information. We have to give some kind of points, important parts, important numbers to get higher score, and to show that basically what happened here. And as you see in the line, you have more important numbers here are. And now, as I said, we have to give details, we have to give information to have to get higher score, because now it's very information poor. And to make it more rich, we have to make it more enriched, we have to give extra information, and by extra information we get higher task achievement score. And here, as you see, the biggest numbers are, the most important numbers are 500, 400, and below 300. We have to give these numbers together now. And here, as you see, 500 is in year 1975, 400 is 1985, and below 300 is 1995, and we will give these parts together, and we use different advanced grammar structure to give this part. And here we say reaching, period, reaching, or when reached. We are using participle clause here. We will give additional information about participle clause in the next part of the lessons, and we will give extra PDF files or videos so that you can do self-study on this part. But we say, when we are saying reaching, we are using participle clause here. It's a stable decline to 250 until the end of the period, reaching 500, 400, and below. So it's less than 300, below 300 in what happens period? Years 1975, 1985, and 1995. But we gave three numbers, 3 years. But how do they know that these numbers correspond to each other and they are in order? So to show that they are in order, we have to use the word respectively. You can learn, and this word, you can just go to your dictionary, you can search this word. This word means, so respectively means basically these words correspond with each other. These words correspond to each other and they come together respectively. So that will be the end of our first body paragraph, and as you saw, we gave from the beginning till the end. We used starting structures, following structures, and we gave all the numbers, and we used advanced grammar structure to get as high score as possible. So now, after finishing our first body paragraph, we have to give the second part of our body paragraph, which was, second body paragraph, which was about women. So we have to start our body paragraph. Now it's going to be easier because we looked at the overall structure and we learned the words that we need. So we use one of the starting words, introducing words to start our body paragraph. They were with respect to, regarding, concerning, as regards. And now let's just use as regards. As regards. So I'm going to use a red marker to show the linkers, connectors, and the most important words so that you understand what to look at, you understand which one is important here, which information you have to pay attention to. So as regards the what? So it was as regards the levels. Let's just change it as regards the amounts of smokers among women. So as you see, we just started talking about the amount of smokers among women. So we cannot talk about something else. We cannot talk about men. We cannot include men now. So as regards the amount of smokers among women, so now we have to start giving details. And here our first detail is it was below 100 at the beginning of the period in 1960. So we have to say it. So yes, the amount. Let's start with the trend. The trend was below or under 100 in 1960. So then, to give the second sentence, we have to use some kind of linkers, some kind of connectors, and then we can say after. It increased, as you saw, it increased till even more than 300 until 1985, and where it stayed for 5 more years. So we say after it increased steadily to more than 300 until 1975. And if you pay attention, it didn't change for the next 5 years. We can simply add this information here to make more complex sentence. We can use simply relative clause where it stayed stable for the next 5 years. And as you see, we covered the main point. We covered the main information here. And as you see, this number was the highest point of the structure, highest point of the trend. We have to include this information to get higher score from our task achievement. How we can include this structure? We can use simply another advanced structure or another more complex structure to get higher score. So here we can simply well, it's not higher, well, it's not really advanced structure, but it's participle clause. We can say having reached a peak. This is participle clause structure. Or if you don't want to use participle clause structure, you can use simple contrast, despite reaching a peak, or also it reached a peak. Let's just say despite reaching a peak, or despite peaking, despite reaching a peak. And we just continue. And what happened after this? So it's experienced a steady decline, right? So we say it experienced a steady decline to 200 until the end of the period. Yes. Well, it went through, let's say went through, because we used the word experience before. We went through. Well, we use the word steady too. Let's say gradual decline. Gradual decline to 200 until the end, until I miss the word I'll use that word here, until the end of the period. So as you saw, we described all the important parts of the trend of females. We started with 100 and we ended 200, and we gave all the relevant information here. And that's the end of our body paragraph 2, and that's also the end of our task 1 essay line graph.